It's the Marc Clarke Morning Show. Healthy, wealthy, and wise.
Preparing students to demonstrate mastery of math state standards can feel like a dull, unending cycle of equations and practice problems. Unengaged, frustrated students can weigh on teacher confidence and lead to uncertainty about overall achievement. Two Ivy League-trained engineers observed this struggle and created a way to transform how students learn the fundamentals of math. Through the innovative Accoletics math program, EDA has helped more than 400,000 students achieve success on state-administered math tests and transformed the academic strategies and performance of schools nationwide. Accoletics' uniquely designed supplemental materials and tools are well aligned to your state standards and provide a clear path to exceed state proficiency standards. Through ongoing professional development, you will uncover common challenges and activate solutions that promise to improve student achievement in your school. By partnering with EDA and choosing Accoletics, you can start to see an unprecedented return on your investment in as little as one school year. Don't procrastinate on giving your teachers the tools to help students achieve their highest math potential. To learn how you can dramatically improve classroom instruction and learning, test scores, and student confidence, call, email, or visit Accoletics online today.
Welcome to the Marc Clarke Show. I am Marc Clarke. There's my man Bootsy Vegas in the building. How are you, my friend?
Hey, sir, how you doing? Happy Wednesday. Today's Wednesday, right?
Today is Wednesday. We are getting over the hump. We're excited. We got a big weekend planned. CIAA weekend is planned, and we're going to be talking about that amazing.
That's a great conversation piece. Because there are a lot of people who are, they're wondering, it's been such a historical, monumentous thing that goes on in the South. So the transition to Baltimore, people are really interested to see how that's going to be. And I don't know if you're on TikTok, but I see a lot of what not to do and where not to go in Baltimore if you have CIAA videos. So it's funny. I've seen a few funny ones.
Well, it is interesting. I think the again, what we do here, Bootsy, is we not only have great conversations, we add insight. We add insight into whatever's going on in the world. We add context.
Right. Important context.
The world and
important insight, important context, because you just never know when this information will be valuable to you later on down the line.
Exactly. You just never know. And speaking of that, well, how did it get to Baltimore? Who's handling this challenging, amazing event? Well, she happens to be one of my closest friends, and she is amazing. Sanjay joins us. Sanjay DeCaris joins us. Sanjay, how are you?
I love her name.
How are you doing? Good morning. I'm sorry for like my voice. I say good morning.
Sanjay, where's your lovely face? We can't see your lovely face, no?
You don't want to see my lovely face right now.
You know,
Wow.
I'm in War Week. I call this like War Week because it's like probably about 8, 9, 10 events that are happening, and lack of sleep and all types of craziness happening.
well, let me just say this. Number one, so Bootsy, Sanjay worked with me at 92Q, and Sanjay, I've known her since she was a baby, and Sanjay, she wants the smoke. She's always wanted the smoke, Bootsy. She ain't scared now.
She sounds like she wants it.
Oh yeah, Sanjay's from New York. She ain't scared. And so she wants the smoke. So Sanjay, as Bootsy said, is interesting. We're in a weird world where, number one, I was so excited to hear that you're a part of this. You're handling this CIAA tournament in Baltimore. Now, unexpectedly, Instagram and the social media is like trying to dig at Baltimore. So Sanjay, let them know. Let them, number one, we ain't scared. Baltimore ain't scared. Number two, Sanjay, you put together an amazing conference, an amazing event. Tell us about the event and what's going down, and then tell us about your surprise or non-surprise that the little social media energy that's created actually is probably a good thing because good publicity, right? What's going on? Tell us about the event.
Well, people are always adverse to change, right? And it's been in Charlotte for 15 years, and when it started in Charlotte, everyone was probably the same way, like what's going on. But being there for 15 years really helped build that city. And we hope and bring a lot of people, a lot of economic development and impact to Charlotte. And we hope that same thing can happen to Baltimore. But I think Baltimore was a little bit more flyer established than Charlotte was 15 years ago.
Oh, snap.
Just to dust our shoulders off a little bit,
I told you, Sunday wants the smoke. Come on. But
I tell people all the time, I'm from New York, been here for 17 years. My friends come down to New York and they're like, we love Baltimore because the narrative is much different when you're here than what you see, on the wire and so forth, and not saying, and if you look at these cities, all of these cities have some part of, these urban cities have some part of the wire in them. It's just that something was more, made into a very popular TV show, which me and Mark were featured on, and so we go down in pop culture history. But
see, I told you, and you know what, Sanjay, and that's something that Sanjay discovered when she was at Hampton, and she'd make her trips down to Baltimore without her parents knowing and doing who knows what in the streets of Baltimore. But what she also learned was the beauty of Baltimore, because you're right, Sanjay, the image of Baltimore is one thing versus the reality of it. Yes. And Baltimore is quaint. Baltimore has cool ass places. It has great amazing food. Restaurants. It has a whole bunch of black owned businesses. Yeah. I think you probably saw that post that my man put it. But yeah, there's a lot of secrets that Baltimore holds, and people are going to find them this weekend.
Yes, exactly. And, I said, we have a beautiful backdrop. We have a beautiful harbor. We have a lot of restaurants and venues that sit on a beautiful harbor. It's beautiful weather, right? So God is smiling on us because that was like another deterrent. People were like, it's going to be so cold, right? I'm like, when I was down in Charlotte 2020, it was colder in Charlotte than it was in Baltimore. So, and I'm an entrepreneur and I've had my business for 15 years.
Yes, go ahead, Sanjay. So let's see how it works. So Sanjay was a part of the Big Fat Morning Show. Yes. Now Sanjay earns millions in her own business while Marc Clarke is in his basement looking for a check. And thank you, Sanjay, for including me in this wonderful event. And finally, I could pay my phone bill. So yes, God is good.
Right. Paying it forward. Forward.
Yes, always treat people nice, because when I call Sanjay and say, please, Sanjay, plug me into something, you can't say, no, Mark, because you're mean to me. Nope, I was always sweet to her because she was like my little sister. Go ahead, Sanjay.
They used to call you my dad. So, we.
Damn it. I'm a dad. Wow. Well, it's so funny. That is true. People used to be like, is that your dad? No, I'm not. Okay.
Did you get the job because he's your father? Oh, wow.
That's right. My baby be employing me. My baby keeps me working. So, okay. So Sanjay, break down. Yeah. I mean, I think also what you've added though, Sanjay, is the swag level, and you have a great balance of seasoned people and younger people who happen to be stars this weekend. Tell us about some of the people who are coming.
So, of course, CIAA has their schedule, which can be seen on theciaa.com. So you have the game schedule, you have the Fan Fest information, you have the Career Day information. All that stuff can be, looked at on their site at theciaa.com. Now, when it comes to Visit Baltimore and a little swag that we put on it, right? we had to drop a little, a little Black girl magic, a little bit of me on there. So we had to create some other supporting ancillary events. Tomorrow is our Tech Summit, which is it's called the Tech Summit House. It is a very popular event it's sold out. Basically, it's free, but registration is closed. We are at our capacity. We are trying to adhere to our COVID protocols, but we have Elsa M., who is the host. We have Joe Claire as a moderator. Jeff Johnson is a moderator. Wendy Osefo from the Housewives of Potomac.
Cousin Jeff.
Yes, Cousin Jeff. They're all moderators, moderating 3 different panels based around tech, building Black tech ventures, music and art, how technology has changed the game, and then immersive culture. We have our sponsors, Verizon and Fearless, Fulton Bank, Deep Downtown Locker Room, Link, Microsoft, Dell, who have all are invested in Baltimore. We have demos that will be having interactive booths that will be set up for all of our guests to participate in and have the Oculus glasses and see all the innovative stuff that's happening in Baltimore. That's happening tomorrow from 11 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. featuring some of our great caterers. And we have a performance by Moo Fresh there as well. On Friday, we have a health panel. There still have slots open for that, but it's closing soon. I think we have probably about 30 more slots left for that. That's Friday at the Sagamore Pendry Hotel. Shout out to Juan Madison, who is the GM, young Black brother who is, off the chain and such a great attribute to our Baltimore community. That will feature Steve Francis and Clinton Yates from ESPN Undefeated.
Steve Francis, I love it.
Yeah. They'll be doing a panel on mental health and wellness.
Wow.
Then we have another panel which will feature Dougie Fresh, Dr. D, our health commissioner.
How long is it? 6 minutes? No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We have, they'll be talking about COVID-19. A couple of our local doctors and medical professionals will be on that panel talking about COVID-19 and how it affects Black and Brown communities. So that's Friday. And then on, and it says free food, free drinks. So come on, come on through on Friday at the Sagamore Pendry from 10 a.m. to 2. On Saturday, we also have a financial panel, which Marc Clarke is the MC and host for. We have a lot of, that will be at the Four Seasons from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Said free food. Come on now. We have another panel. We have 3 panels that are happening at that time. We have Dia Sims, who runs Lobos, which is LeBron's tequila. We have Harold Ford, Tiffany Norwood. We have Ryan Wilson from The Gathering Spot. Tania Speaks, who was just had the best Shark Tank pitch a couple of weeks ago. So we have a lot of great, amazing, young and innovative folks who are here in Baltimore to share their wealth of knowledge. And then don't forget, Saturday night, it goes down at the Maryland Live Casino. Okay, we got Drew Hill. Oh, wow. We have celebrating the 25th anniversary. Okay, we got Dougie Fresh, Chuck Brown Band, and 702 and Tom Joyner, who will all be in the building at the Maryland Live Casino. That is not free. That is a fundraising concert that we are helping raise $1.5 million in scholarships, college student athlete scholarships. Okay, so we need everyone to go and buy their ticket, and it's going to be an amazing show.
Let me tell you something. Number one, I got to give this to Sanjay.
Wow.
Sanjay, I'm so proud of you. Somebody's like, is that Sanjay from 922? Yes, Sandra, that is the Sanjay.
Hey, Sandra.
And you remember Sandra?
I remember Sandra. Yeah, she's come on our show, right?
Yeah, so Sandra now is this crypto queen. She was a real estate queen back then, so she's led me to crypto. That's the whole other thing. Nice. And so, Sanjay, I just want to say I'm so proud of you. this is why now, for those who don't know who the Big Fat Morning Show Baltimore. So at the end of the day, Big Fat Morning Show kind of had two incarnations. Sanjay, it was Mitro and Marv originally, and then Sanjay came and Sanjay and Pork Chop, and Sanjay brought some innovation. She brought some youth. She brought some energy, and I just love the fact that Sanjay, with your events, you have gone on to do that with all your events. And so, in addition to making it, it's always great and historic, you add a little sass, a little swag, a little energy. And so I'm just so proud of you. And I'm looking so forward, and thank you for making me a part of this panel. I'm excited about that. And so, Sanjay, I know you, Bootsy, do you have a question for Sanjay? We're going to let her go because I woke her up kind of. She was she's been halfway sleeping for 3 days. So I'll let you get back. And then, Sanjay, we're going to have, after you exit, Harold Bell, who actually played for Big House Gaines, and who actually many don't know, Harold has a tie into Baltimore. Sanjay, you can take that. Matter of fact, we can get Harold on real quick to say hi. So Sanjay, Harold told us that Big House Gaines, who is considered okay. Sanjay's gone. Okay, Sanjay.
He's like, yeah, I'm out of here, man. I've done my job here.
So so Harold is standing by, and Harold, there's Sanjay.
Yeah.
And so Sanjay, Harold is on now, and Harold reminded us that Big House started his play at Baltimore at Morgan State. So Big House, who's forever tied to the CIAA, is also tied to Baltimore. And so I know, Sanjay, you can't stay, but I wanted you to meet. This is Harold Bell, and I'm going to bring Harold probably Saturday, Sanjay.
Nice.
And so I'll hit you on. Does Harold need to get cleared with the vaccine stuff? We'll talk about that.
Yes, that's the link.
I wanted to introduce you. So Harold, this is Sanjay. You can't see her picture, but she's here. I don't want you to meet her, and she's in charge of the event this weekend. And also, I told her you're going to be sharing some history. She has to go, but I just wanted to introduce you to. So Harold, Sanjay, Harold.
See you Saturday.
I can't see anything. My computer screen went blank on me. But nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you as well.
You have definitely some history in Baltimore. Big House Gaines was an All-American football player at Morgan State. He was a chemistry teacher, and the first CIAA tournament was played here in Washington, D.C. in 1946. Big House was a part of that. They moved to Morgan State several years later, and Big House went to Winston-Salem, and I was a part of that family as a football player and basketball player. He was like my daddy. So
nice.
Yeah,
Amazing.
So Sanjay, you can take that little bit of information. You can hit him in the face with that when people be like, "Well, Baltimore, you would actually." Sanjay,
yeah, 70 years. It hasn't been in Baltimore for 70 years.
Wow.
70.
I tell you how old I am.
So Sanjay, thank you so much, love. We'll see you this weekend, okay?
All right, see you. Thank you. Bye, guys.
All right, Sanjay holding it down this weekend, and of course, when you talk about history, Bootsy, people are saying you're so dark. You look like Wesley Snipes in this thing. You got some light. You ain't got no light you can put on your face, brother. Anyway, yes, you. But so Harold, your screen is still dark.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. It just went out on me. I had you guys, completely, but now I can only hear you, which is, I guess, better than nothing.
Okay. Well, again, we just had Harold on to add a little bit of history, as always. When you can go right to the source, we're gonna be wearing you out, Harold, and one day there'll be a check attached to it.
Okay. Looking forward to it.
And so Harold can't see the screen, so I described the picture. So Harold, one of our pictures is you're around. It's almost like the greats. It's like
Mike Jarvis, Gary Williams.
Yeah, Mike Jarvis, Gary Williams, Big House Gaines.
Yeah.
You're at a restaurant. Where was this, Harold?
That was at the Grand Hyatt downtown in Washington, D.C. We had a basketball roundtable. We had Mike Jarvis there. We had Big House Gaines there. We had Gary Williams, who had just won an NCAA basketball championship for the University of Maryland. We had Butch Beard there from Howard University. He's sitting on the far end there. And of course, the great Spencer Haywood was the host of that roundtable. And we had the great John Chaney from Temple University on by telephone. That was a great roundtable.
Wow. And so then we're moving to Harold a Shot with you, James Brown, and looks like a few other legendary gentlemen.
Sam Jones.
Yeah, that's right. You got it. You got it. Sam Jones, James Brown, Earl Lord, who was an NBA pioneer, came out of West Virginia State, went on to become, I campaigned for him to get into the NBA Hall of Fame. And the great Sam Jones, who we just lost, who was a participant in all my celebrity fashion shows and tennis tournaments held here in Washington. In fact,
unknown fact about Sam Jones is he is the former Anaheim DC Public Schools athletic director.
That's right. That's right.
He did that, and he was the first person to implement college courses and had almost like a recruiting situation with all athletes to go to college. When I was in high school, he was a real trendsetter. As you know, DC kind of got rid of him because his thought-provoking was so, I won't say radical, but it was just ahead of his time. But he was a true trendsetter in DC, helping a lot of kids get to college, and I was one of them.
Sam, I was the first Nike representative on the East Coast here in Washington, D.C., and Sam came aboard behind me, and we were the Nike men in Washington, D.C. for several years, man. Yeah, Sam and I were real close friends, man. He did a hell of a lot here in Washington, D.C. when it came to the community. Mm-hmm.
And so, Harold, now we have the cake with big house and the cake. Is that a celebration cake?
Oh yeah, our birthdays were on the same day, and Big House would come to Washington. I was one of his recruiters for Winston-Salem State, and Earl Monroe. You see Earl Monroe in that picture. That was at one of my celebrity fashion shows, and Miss Claire Gaines asking, "What are you going to Washington on your birthday?" He said, "I got Harold Bell's birthday too, and I got to go there and see about some recruiting some young men." So that's what happened. That was I think at the Chapter 2 downtown birthday. Our birthdays were celebrated.
And then you and Curly Neal.
Oh yeah, that's my man. Curly played was an outstanding player at Johnson C. Smith, man, and of course he went on to greater fame with the Harlem Globetrotters. And whenever Curly came to town, he invited my kids out, and Curly would come and be a part of Inside Sports, man. Really a great loss, man, and a great individual, man. Really, we were like brothers, man. He was a good people.
And so Harold, with the I'm going to mute you and ask the question because I could hear. So Harold, what's your thoughts on? I mean, some say it's growth. Some people say it's just just going to have to happen. Where I guess the CIAA and the SWAC, a lot of the colleges are trying to, I guess, branch out and maybe get out of it. Historically, that hurts a lot of people's feelings. Is it a part of growth? Is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? What's your thought on black schools hopping out?
Well, Coach Gaines and I had a conversation about that before he passed, and it's sad, man, that we lose our history, man, when that happens. They're chasing the almighty dollar, man. That's what it's all about, including Winston-Salem even jumped in there going Division I, but they had enough sense to come back to the CIAA. No, that we lose our history. See, I remember when I was at Winston-Salem, and Cleo Hill, one of the greatest players that ever come out of the CIAA. He was Michael Jordan. He was Michael Jordan before Michael Jordan on Tobacco Road. Look, white folks would come from all over the state, man, when we played our home games. Some of the students couldn't even get in for the white folks coming to see Cleo Hill, man. So that is the great part of a history that we don't know about. And Cleo was drafted #1 by the St. Louis Hawks, 8th overall in 1961. We don't even know that history, man. We lose our history when we spread out like that, chasing the dollar bill. And that's what it's all about, because ever since those teams joined the Division I, they have not been to a Rose Bowl. You name it. They have not been to a finals in the NCAA basketball tournament. So why are you black?
And Mr. Bell. And if anybody need any evidence on that, North Carolina A&T just pulled out of their new conference last week as well. So they will be joining a third conference for the third year. And it's so true about what you're saying about losing. The one thing they lose is their sense of history, but also their sense of community, because when they transition to these PWI conferences, they always going to be the outsider anyway, and it's always a money grab. And once you cannot meet the demand of what your alumni meets, they throw you out anyway. And North Carolina A&T, for the third year in a row, after winning 4 MEAC championships in a row, now is looking for another home when they should have just stayed at the MEAC.
And the part that's so interesting is that now with the new regulations and the athletes, the argument about them, there's no reason. It's like, number one, what Deion's doing is, the combination of when these stars start going to HBCUs and now you can cut your own deal with these sports things, there's no need for you to go to a D1. Because number one, you already were the number one rated kid coming out of high school anyway, and so there really is. And like you said, it actually is a win-win for everybody. If everybody stayed, and then now the kids can cut their own deals, and the schools, they still could be able to cut deals. Because people will come watch the kids play. Right. Then there's really no reason for you to like you say, run into the D1 situation, because and that's the part that we talked about the other day, Harold, is that sadly it's back to understanding your value. Yep. If the NFL players understood their value, they could change dynamics. If college players now who can call their shot, Master P's son just signed $1 million deal. Deion's son, I'm sure, going to sign a multi-million-dollar deal with these. Now you can cut your own deal. Why not go to your college and get your history with people who look like you, and you can participate at a level that's not just some whack watching from the distance experience. I went to Southern Illinois University. I went to a PWI, and I have to admit, it's like you're watching. I participated, but you don't really get a chance to participate. You're kind of like watching everybody else do stuff, and you happen to be, in my situation, able to nimbly move through the situation because of my background. But the average black kid, they don't have that. The average black kid doesn't necessarily feel comfortable being in a room full of people who don't look like them, and could be self-conscious about things, and don't have anybody to lean on and say, well, can I help me get to this? It's a total different experience. And like you said, Coach, why not stay and just grow this history? Especially now, because now these kids can make money and still play. That's the thing that was one of the things. If a kid has all this opportunity, you would say, okay, go ahead, because you can't get that over here. But now you can. So,
see, when I talk about losing history, man, Big House Gaines is a great example of that. He was, really forced to retire in 1993, and he was second only behind Adolph Rupp in wins. You understand? He had won 828 games. Adolph Rupp had won like 876. But he was forced in retirement, man, because the white schools were able to out-recruit him. They could offer a convertible Cadillac with a blonde in it and $1,000 in the glove compartment. He couldn't do that. So he had to retire. And guess who helped force him into retirement?
I already know. Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith.
Wow. A. Smith.
He sure did.
Who couldn't play dead. He claimed at Winston-Salem, he didn't average 1 point a game. But he evidently had a beef against Big House, and he wrote a big story in the Philadelphia Inquirer or something about that he should retire. And guess what? The athlete who played for Big House, Stephen A. Smith, couldn't come down to Winston-Salem anymore. You understand?
Wow.
Because he was a sellout. He's still a sellout today, man. That's another story we don't know.
Well, let me just hold on, Bootsy. I have to acknowledge Mike Love is in the building. Now, let me just put in perspective. So, we're on this platform, we're doing our media thing. But when a radio god like Mike Love visits the platform to see what's going on and says, "Good morning, MC," I just want to say, what's up, Mike Love? Mike has been in the game, just like me, I guess 30 years. He's worked everywhere from New York. He's worked with Tom Joyner. He's worked with Michael Baisden. He's done all kinds of shows. So yes, Mike Love, if you want to produce and make this a syndicated show, you are welcome to, Mike Love. Thank you. But welcome to the conversation. Go ahead, Bootsy.
Yeah, and I don't know if this question has been asked, but Mr. Bell, I would love to know your assessment and your thoughts on Dion and a lot of the NFL athletes going to HBCUs, but especially Dion? And where do you think that sets HBCU footballs up? I would love to know your assessment, because some people like what Dion doing, some people does not. I would love to know what your assessment of the job that Deion Sanders is doing and the profile he's bringing.
Well, I think it's a great contribution that when a guy like Dion joins, the historical Black colleges, man, it takes it to another level. Right. I would like to see other professional athletes who got all this money make that same move. If you check TikTok out in J.R. Smith and his assessment of the Black athlete, he calls himself out, man. How they just wasted $60,000 or $50,000 in these strip clubs when they could be giving this back to the Black community, or
that was a powerful podcast
to Black colleges, man. Mm-hmm. So when Grant Hill used to come on my show before he became Grant Hill, because Calvin Hill, his daddy, was like my partner, man. So Grant Hill went on to Duke. Now, when he left Duke and made all that money, guess what he does? He give $1 million to Duke. What does Duke need with $1 million? Why don't you give $1 million to the Black colleges, or give a piece of that money to kids in trouble? He didn't think about that. They forget, man. And I love what Dion is doing myself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
and also
hold on one second, but let me just hop in real quick. Harold Bell is in his 80s. Harold Bell still is familiar with what's going on damn TikTok. Let me just ring the bell here. Harold Bell has been media professional for whatever 90 years, still on top of what's going on in media. That's a pro right there.
That is
He's not resting on his laurels. He knows what's going on. Go ahead, Bootsy.
No, it's interesting because that whole interview that J.R. Smith did, he really went in depth with a lot of things. He was talking about how he sat down with DeMar Rosen, Russell Westbrook, and 2 other people from LA and told them, let's buy our own basketball in the community in South Central versus going to UCLA, and everybody shunned them. And people have made the assessment on National Sports Channel that he was a little off. People have really made that assessment that J.R. Smith was off. But, man, Mark, he is super sharp. He's really a visionary. And when you look at the TikTok videos he put up where he's breaking down what should be done for the Black community, it was really mind-blowing, because he goes to North Carolina A&T right now, and he's on the golf team. And he's trying to be a visionary for young Black people to do golf at HBCU. So I don't know if J.R. Smith is really getting the credit he deserves for what he's doing as well, because he is contributing to HBCUs in a whole different way that nobody really realizes. But my other point was, Eddie George has now followed Dion. There are 3 other people now have started the trend of coaching. So I just think that what Harold Bell was saying was Dion has really started a trend. And I think the most gangster thing that Dion did was he got on the news about a month ago and said, look, I done had 3 Power 5 conferences offer me double the money that they will offer me at Jackson State, and I'm not going because it's bigger than all of this. So I just wanted to say that, Harold is right. He has started a trend because Eddie George now is at Tennessee State.
Well, one thing, what J.R. Smith is teaching us, and he called himself out. That's what I like about that. Right. We got to learn how to help each other. And that's what he and Dion are doing. It's not too late to reach back, because they got the finance to make their own decisions. Dion said, I'm not going anywhere. They can offer me double the salary and all that. I'm going to stay here, man, and lay a foundation that we can look back on and say, hey, man, that's our home. That's where we belong.
Right.
And that's the thing. I think with people, it's so interesting. I think as a community, see, the mainstream community has a job of tearing us down and belittling whatever we do, right? We also do it. And I don't think we really understand.
We don't.
Like, let's take Harold Bell, for example. Harold's sitting right here at his house. What we don't understand is, anybody in media should know this man's name. They don't. At 83, whatever Harold age is, Harold is engaged. He's on top of it. He has a voice. He was in the room. With these people. It wasn't a conversation. He didn't hear a story. He was there when the story actually happened. But we don't as a community, we don't hold up a Harold Bell and talk about how great he is. Now, when he dies, we will for a day or two.
Right.
But we don't hail him, you know. And I don't know where it comes. Well, I know where it comes from. Systematically, we're taught not to do that, you know. And so Deion, look at Deion Sanders. Deion, when people talk about Deion, right? All the years, the first thing they'll say when you talk about Deion even playing football on those general market shows, we'll talk about how he didn't tackle, how Deion was afraid to hit, blah, 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 blah. That's the narrative, right? What they don't talk about is, from an athletic standpoint, Deion was a shutdown defensive back. You did not throw the ball anywhere near Deion at the height of his athleticism. Nobody, if he had the ball, Deion was going to score a touchdown. If you threw it to him, he threw it in the air, he's going to throw a touchdown. He was undeniable, one of the most amazing athletes of his generation, number one. Number two, he was also, there's a lot of pro athletes, but how many athletes were as genius marketing-wise as Deion? He was a marketing genius. He helped other people learn how to market themselves. So that Jerry curl, flashy suit, eyeglasses stuff, that was all marketing. Deion he's an intelligent, thoughtful guy, but he understood how powerful images were, and he used them to create all this money. So when he comes to an HBCU, it's just not a pro athlete coming to an HBCU. It's one of the most gifted marketing minds who's won at every level. Won at every level. And so that's what HBCUs are getting. And what you're going to see is, as the other people come, Eddie George and their people, yes, that's still amazing, but they ain't no Deion. At the end of the day, he has succeeded at every level. He's marketed at every level and succeeded. And he's bringing and being able to, like some of those players who are smart enough to say, let me go take part of this great mind, they're going to learn stuff that they will never learn from anybody. Just like Harold Bell playing for Big House, he sat at the feet of the master. You know, Harold sat at the feet and in the house of Big House games. And so if you're people who know Harold Bell and you're on a certain platform, if you're Michael Wilbon, if you're James Brown, why wouldn't you have Harold Brown? Harold in Black history, when we're talking about a roundtable discussion about Black history and HBCU sports, blah, 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 why wouldn't you have Harold Bell come? It just adds to your greatness. That's the part that's sad. The funny part is they almost don't add Harold because I think they don't want people to know when they weren't on top of the world, when they weren't at their best. But the part that's a silly worry. They don't understand that by having you, Harold, that just adds on to their legacy. But, you know, at the end of the day, do you think the reason that they don't is because of those kind of personalities? They don't want people to see the other side when they weren't the superstar that they were? Why do Black people have a tendency to do that? Not just them, but in general, to kind of like, yeah, you know, I'm not going to talk about the guy that knew me when I was coming up.
Mm-hmm. Well,
what do you think it is?
It all boils down to, Mark, that we are an insecure people, man. You know, there are so few opportunities in this field of media, man. So when they open up a job, man, thousands of Black folks run to that one job. And we are scared that somebody else will beat us out for it. So it's insecurity, man. We don't have really confidence in themselves. You know, when I started out in this game, Mark, in 1972, I went out and got my own sponsors. I was able to get the Maryland State Lottery. I was able to get Coca-Cola. I was able to get Nike. I was on AM radio, man, making between $10,000 and $20,000 a month, man. People didn't realize that because I went out and I paid for my own time. I controlled what went on the air. That was unheard of, man. So, you know, I opened the door for many, many folks, man. I got to go back to our girl Monique. Monique said, look, I'm taking these ass whippings now with them calling me nigger, with them calling me bitch. You understand? That's what I'm doing for Michael Wilbon and James Brown and David Aldridge. They big, all of them. John Thompson, Sugar Ray Leonard. They all came through me, man. So, you know, we don't get it, man. We don't get it.
Well, you know what, Harold? At least, hey, we appreciate you.
Absolutely.
And Harold, when I get my multi-million-dollar network job, I've already showed you, Harold, when I had the one that wasn't that. When I get the big one, Harold, I'm taking you with me, baby. We gonna do this. And Bootsy,
And I appreciate you, Mark. You know, I really do, man. You know, very few, you're far, and very few in between, man. Thanks to Joe Gorham, our buddy, that hooked us up, man. So I appreciate Joe. And he was reaching back, man, even after retirement, man. He was reaching back and said, come on, Mark, I want to introduce you to the real DC legend. And we took it from there.
Well, Harold, hey, man, we appreciate you, brother. I'm going to kick you out now, and we're going to wrap up today.
Harold, Harold, I will be calling you today, Harold.
Okay, Bootsy, okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, the world famous Harold Bell, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks, brother. And so, yeah, man, I wanted to get Harold on to add some context to the CIAA. Because, again, that's what happens, too, right, Bootsy? Like, this stuff happens, and we kind of like, so, Bootsy, what do you think it is? Why do we forget those who came before us? Why, as a community, are we so afraid? Now, I think I've probably been accused of chasing. So I was raised by my Aunt Mary and Uncle Earl, not raised by, but I grew up with elder people. So I was in that elder people loop, you know what I mean? So right. I'm taking them to the store. I'm going to the store with them when I'm little. My Uncle Earl was in his 80s. My Aunt Mary was in her 80s. I'm with them all day. So I have this thing around people who are older. I was a caregiver for my father-in-law, you know, so I actually just vibe. I like sitting at the feet of these giants and learning, but I know some people don't. Some people, and I'm just trying to figure out, what do you think it is culturally, Bootsy? Because like you said, a lot of these people don't, and again, I'm not trying to dog them out. I'm just saying, and it's not just them. It's like, as a community, we sometimes have a tendency not to throw away our old people for whatever reason. Yeah, what is it?
I just don't think that we have a full understanding of why we should value our elders and the lessons that they have been giving us. I'm fascinated by it as well. I'm taken aback by it as well. You know, the most crazy thing to me is that the fact that you were one of the only people to really document what Harold Bell has been doing when he's not even a secret. Like, you know, Harold Bell's not a secret. Everybody knows what he did, but it's just interesting that we just do not have a sense of community, a more sense of community, but understanding the sense of understanding where we came from, the lessons, the tools. So I'm fascinated by it as well. And I just think we got to do a better job of maybe pushing the narrative of valuing what they have to offer, because I'm flabbergasted why they're so quick to throw them away as well. I really don't really have an answer, because me and you are like-minded, and we could listen to Harold Bell for hours and never get tired. Like, I could have watched 2 more hours of pictures, like him telling the stories, but I really don't get it. Unfortunately, I think that's why it's important that we document our history. More people like me and you who are teaching these young minds and developing these young minds, maybe we got to do a better job of having all this content documented so they can know, because these stories and these lessons are getting, you know, pushed to the side more and more, because there's no way Harold Bell should not be teaching somewhere.
And it's weird how I see my cousin. I see you. Yes. Look at the voting right. That's my cousin right there. Errol Thomas Foster. Errol, a.k.a. Tommy. But yeah, man. And it's interesting because this is in sports. It's in music.
Right.
You know, it's almost like in music, right? When you talk about, you know, I remember when, you know, Quincy Jones, who's done everything. I mean, he was just like Harold Bell. He was there. He was in the room.
Absolutely.
From Sinatra to Count Basie to Duke Ellington, Ray Charles, the best friend. He's there, you know, Berry Gordy. And it's interesting, again, for whatever reason, people like you and I, Bootsy, maybe it's because how we were raised, a guy like a Quincy Jones, we will sit at the feet and ask a million questions, just like you did with Maurice White and the whole family at Earth, Wind, and Fire. Because the funny part is the story, most of the time, the story that's told is really not the story, or there's a twist to the story.
Man, and you know where we learned that from? And you know where we learned that from? When we be seeing these documentaries and stories about James Brown. It all depends on, you remember the movie with James Brown when they made him look, when they started the movie with him holding people up in a shotgun? Like, out of all the things that James Brown did, You started a movie with Crazy James Brown. All that he contributed, you started with him with a shotgun holding some white people up. And it's going to show you that if we do not tell our stories, that somebody else will take it and twist the narrative to the way that they want it. Because that happens so much in music.
Exactly. And also, you're right. There's so much. And hey, it's complex. I'm not saying that, that wasn't an aspect. And it is complex. But like you said, when you have the insight and the heart and the sensitivity to understand, you might be able to add a layer. You might be able to add a layer of understanding.
Absolutely. Because James Brown had probably, when I saw his real documentary, he had one of the hardest lives I have ever seen.
Oh my God, yeah.
Your mother abandoned you to go work in a prostitute house. Your father leaves you in the woods and you had to walk miles to find your aunt. Like when you think about where he came from, what he overcame, obviously there are going to be some mental things that he's dealing with for the rest of his life.
Oh yeah, and also, like you said, if we did the movie, we're going to talk about the tough parts. His had a terrible relationship with women. He abused many women, but you have to add all of it together, to make up the whole human person.
And do we ever talk about how he got there and why he's there? That's one of the things when I look at the news, when they put these stories about these kids on there, they never talk about their situation or circumstances. I can tell you out of the 30 kids that I've had in my program that have gone to college, if I was to really break down some of their stories, it would definitely give you a better perspective on what they're dealing with and why you may see some of these things. Like no kid just wakes up at 14-year-old and decides he wants to go start robbing people or whatever it is he's doing. There are some events that led up to this person being this way. And I don't think in news or just with a narrative of Black people, that's emphasized. They just act like we wake up and be these monsters out of nowhere. Nobody, like I could tell you stories about, and I'm sure you already know as well.
Oh yeah.
Is that they never really highlight what got you to this situation.
And we don't, like you say, we don't have a real conversation about what to do about it and how to offer help, how to help each other. So look, I wanted to just, again, the CIAAs this weekend. If you haven't got tickets, get tickets. It's going to be an amazing event, an amazing experience. I'm going to so Harold has agreed to roll with me on Saturday. So I'm excited to take him because, for him to be and to have played for, Big House Gaines and to understand
he should be there.
His story. Yeah, he wanted to be there. So
he built it. He built this house.
Yeah, man. So again, thanks for everybody. Sandra, I love you. She said, please like and subscribe if you like this show. That's true. Thank you so much for
it's a great reminder. It's a great reminder.
And people are subscribing. I also want to remind everybody, don't let your mind take you down to a negative place. Understand your mind. This mind control is so important. I'm in that. We talk about, up and down, entrepreneurial, as an entrepreneur and as a human being, things go up and down, I mentioned this when I did my walk today. I wanted to shout out my daughter. So my daughter, she has to go get a test. It's kind of scary. You know how it is when you have these testing things. So when she got the information yesterday, she was a little down. And then this morning when I took her to school, she had wrapped her mind around it and she's ready to face whatever this test is going to indicate. And it just was a reminder of how we have to let our mind, and Bootsy, we talk about this all the time. You have to face the worst case scenario ever when you're told you're going to die. But we have to have our mind, right? The mind is such a huge player in everything. Yes, good news, bad news, whatever you want to call it. It's up to you how you're going to process that.
Absolutely.
When you got that news, Bootsy, you could have been like, okay, I'm dead. But you didn't. You were like, no, I'm not. And so that, you mentioned it, played a huge factor. So let's say, I don't know, you have bills that are kicking your ass. The bill collectors are on you. Your kids are on you. Your parents are on you. Your spouse are on you. And you let your mind get into a space of funk and disappointment. You got to shake that off and you got to fight. And you have to start thinking, well, how am I getting out of this? What's my plan? Where can I go? So as we wrap things up, Bootsy, again, because you have been in that space before, give us maybe 3 things when you're in that funk, when you're in that part where your mind is down. Give us some advice as we wrap it up today, a little early.
Well, I always say the mind is more powerful than we give it credit for. There's 2 types of people in this world. There's a person that think that he can. There's a person that think that he can't. And
love
both
it.
of them are right. Both of them are right. Decide who you want to be. I tell everybody there's 3 books that really got me going. The 7 Daily Habits of Successful People, Think and Grow Rich. And then there's one book that really is great for when you're dealing with multiple people. It's called The Mastermind. And The Mastermind is an insight or track on how to get people to work mentally together as one. That goes for families, that goes for bands, that goes for broadcast journalism, it goes for whatever. When you do these team things. But please read those 3 books, because I tell everybody, Think and Grow Rich, people assume that it's about money. But the thing about Think and Grow Rich is, and let me say this, in my opinion, this is the opinion of Boosie Vegas, Sally, whoever, Napoleon Hill's books have been around this long for a reason, because it gives you real basic layman terms insight to make you think differently. But the greatest advice that I ever got was from the great Maurice White, when he told me in life, we have to learn how to condition and train our brain like we condition and train our bodies to stay in shape, how we condition. And every day, remind yourself of your successes, remind yourself how you got here, remind yourself what you overcame, and realize that the stuff that you're facing probably is nowhere as bad as what you've already overcame. And that's how I deal with it.
And with that, mic drop. We are out. See you tomorrow. Bootsy, amazing as always.
Yes, sir.
Thank you everybody who's watching this in real time and who's going to watch this, who's watching us at a later date. Hey, we love you, appreciate you. And, we'll wrap it up with little Elder Barge to take us out. Take care, y'all.
What can I do to make you feel secure? Remove all your doubts so that you know for sure that you're the apple of my eye, fulfillment of my dreams. Show the value of just what you mean to me. More precious than silver, more precious than diamonds.